Good morning, everyone, and happy October. We're going to open it up for our October Provider Forum. And today we have the Association of People Supporting Employment First, focused on employment and the full inclusion of people with disabilities in the workplace. We have several board members with us today. And so I'm going to let Kerri introduce herself and her board members and let her start. A couple housekeeping notes. We will send a copy of the presentation out afterwards. We also are going to put this on our YouTube channel. And if you would put your questions in the chat, we will get to them as we can, and then we can open it up for Q&A at the end. So with that said, I'm going to let Kerri take it away.
All right. Thank you for having us. By the way, happy NDEAM month. Those of you that aren't aware, October 1st marks the first day of National Disability Employment Awareness Month. So it's a great way to kick off the month and celebrate employment and all the great things that we've done in our state surrounding employment first. So we are Florida APSE. We'll talk a little bit about what APSE is. And we have a group of board members here today to talk about employment first in our state specifically. So thank you for having us, and thank you for putting this all together. All right, so just to get started, we'll introduce ourselves. So we have 4 of us here today. We are volunteer Florida APSE board members, and I represent, I'm the president of the Florida chapter of our national organization. And I also, I'm with Morse Consulting Group, and we provide consulting services to provider agencies that are looking to expand their program offerings. I see Matti on camera. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you all for having us today. My name is Matonya. I often go by Matti. I work with the GROW Group. We are a vocational rehabilitation provider in the state of Florida. We work out of Tampa Bay. And I also am on the Florida Rehabilitation Council. And so we assist vocational rehabilitation with recommendations on helping increase and improve their services as well.
All right. Brett, would you like to go next?
Yeah, and I apologize if any noise. Our bathrooms are being remodeled on our floor, so it's going to sound like a construction site. So it comes and goes. So my name is Brett Gottschalk. I work for the Agency for Persons with Disabilities out of the Tampa office. I started with the agency as a supported employment, supported living liaison. But currently I am the supervisor of intake and eligibility and pre-enrollment, formerly the wait list. So happy to be here.
Great. Thanks, Brett. Denise, I don't see you. Are you on? That's okay. When she joins us, Denise is also a board member. She works with the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities at the University of South Florida. She also works in concert with FCIC, and she can introduce herself when she pops on. All right. So just to give you an idea of what APSE is and what it stands for, it stands for the Association of People Supporting Employment First. So we're a great organization to talk about employment first. We're actually the only national organization focused exclusively on employment first. And we try to make sure that the full inclusion of people with disabilities in the workplace and community. So all of our activities and things that we'll be discussing really centers on that principle. We recognize that everybody has abilities to contribute, their work should be recognized, and we're going to talk about the different components of the employment first model. I don't think Denise is on yet, so I'll keep going through. She can pipe up if she's here. Florida APSE, it's one of 41 state chapters of our national organization. Our state chapter was founded in 1995, and we're part of the Southeast chapter. So you could see that we collaborate with other states like North Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, and we get together in our regional meetings, but then we also coordinate different efforts with states all across the United States. Those that don't have a chapter, we're encouraging other chapters to start. So if you know of any ARC organizations in those gray states. We are eager to expand APSE into those states, and we'd love to grow into the areas not represented. But if you are an APSE member, you're an APSE of the national organization, and you could be an APSE member even in a state that doesn't have a chapter. So before we go into employment first, it's important to, and I see a little typo there, it's important to define what CIE is, because we use that term a lot, competitive integrated employment. So this term is actually defined in our legislation, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. We all call it WIOA, which was passed in 2014. And it defines employment as CIE, or competitive integrated employment. And basically, we are looking at the type of employment that provides individuals with disabilities the opportunity to work in the same settings as people without disabilities, performing similar tasks and for comparable pay and benefits. So those are the three indicators. So we're looking at full or part-time employment, like jobs that are offered on a standard work schedule. We're also looking at minimum wage of hire, so employees are paid at or above the minimum wage standard in each state. The comparable pay and benefits means that compensation and benefits are similar to those offered to employees in similar positions without disabilities, performing similar tasks. And of course, integrated work environment means employees working alongside individuals without disabilities in a typical workplace setting. So we want to make sure that individuals have opportunities for advancement, for promotion, for career growth, the same as their non-disabled peers. This CIE was designed to help people with disabilities achieve greater independence, economic self-sufficiency, and social integration. So employment first, when we talk about employment first, it's a national systems change framework. It's centered on the premise that all individuals, including those with the most significant disabilities, are capable of full participation in CIE and therefore community life. So publicly financed systems, basically they're urged to align policies, regulatory guidance, reimbursement structures, so the funding to support this initiative, committed to CIE as a priority for people with disabilities, especially those with significant disabilities. So you can check out how Florida is doing with our Employment First initiative. We have a website. It is in transition, and I'll explain to you why that is, but employmentfirstfl.org is the website. So you can kind of see what we've done since Employment First was first put into legislation here in Florida. In the state of Florida, our legislation, our statute 413.80 was passed in 2019. So at the start of this, 11 agencies came together and they developed an interagency cooperative agreement to start working on this act. And you can see all of the different agencies there listed out: APD, VR, Division of Blind Services, Department of Economic Opportunity, FARF, the Florida Association of Rehab Facilities, the ARC of Florida, Florida Commission for Transportation. So those are to name a few. So all of those folks met regularly. They came together. They had three different levels. So they had the coalition, which was the state level partner agency leaders. Then there was a collaborative team. So that was really state level partner agency staff coming together to talk about the initiatives and how to work together. And then third, implemented was a grassroots group. So those were self-advocates and local stakeholders, like educators, local agency reps, families. At the start, Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, they provided funding, and they contracted with UMass Boston Institute for Community Inclusion. Some of you might know them as ICI. ICI hosted meetings, they collected the data, and they compiled the reporting. So that was really important that FDDC provided that funding so that ICI could oversee kind of as a project manager. You can see a report published. Our last one was actually in 2020. So there's a report as a PDF on the employment website, and you can see all the different activities at the start of this group coming together. Employment First looks very different in each state. You can see in green the states that have a legislation, an executive order, or a proclamation. In yellow, just legislation. And then in blue, they just have an executive order. So each of the states kind of recognize employment first in different ways. Some legislation has funding tied to it, which we know, can do more things when there's funding attached. But each state has a different way of implementing employment first within their laws. In 2021, the REACH Act was passed. So that stands for the Reimagining Education and Career Help Act. It's a piece of legislation aimed at improving access and education, workforce development services for individuals with disabilities. And you can see there the 3 goals that was stated in that legislation. So improving equity and access for Floridians so that they can achieve self-sufficiency. This act really was focused on a system-wide approach for service delivery. So focusing on different state agencies and partners and really coming everybody together, bringing everybody together, increasing collaboration and cooperation among those businesses and education communities, and accountability and transparency. So we're going to see in further legislation how each of those transformed and kind of was detailed in more detail. I also wanted to point out a resource. In 2023, the Florida legislature, during that session, they directed the Able Trust to assess the state's disability service systems. So the goal was to recommend to enhance statewide coordination, so that's in concert with that REACH Act, and identify barriers to employment for Floridians with disabilities. So if you haven't read this report, you can definitely scan and download a copy, or you can go onto the Able Trust website. You'll see it there in their publications. This report analyzes factors affecting employment prospects and proposes improvements in disability education, training, and employment outcomes. And you can see there that we highlighted this section, Florida's promising initiatives and recommendations. And so they really go into nice detail about Employment First, about the REACH Act, Florida Wins, the specific project within that. So you can read about that. You can read about the barriers and the inefficiencies, and then what recommendations they have. So that's a really great piece, a report if you haven't read that yet. And although it was conducted in 2023, you can see that this legislation is kind of shaped around some of the concepts described in this report. Moving forward, in 2023, the Senate also passed Bill 240. So this was expansion and growth of apprenticeships, collaboration among private industry, educational institutions, and local workforce development boards. So specifically CTE, which stands for Career Technical Education, there was expansion there. So it allows district school career centers to offer associate degrees in applied science, providing students with more advanced educational opportunities. It also goes in depth about work-based learning opportunities for students, like defining apprenticeships and internships and talking about that. And then those industry partnerships. So it promotes collaboration again between schools and industries to make sure that we are putting together programming and educational opportunity that fit the needs of our job market in Florida. Lastly, they talk about the Florida Pathways to Career Opportunities Grant Program. So if you're not familiar with that, this program provides funding to support career development initiatives for students, like counseling, mentoring, and job placement services. So you can find more information about that bill, 240, on our floridasenate.gov website. One more Senate bill, 832, that was passed this year. And the importance of that bill to our community is that it amends the Employment First Act. So remember when we were describing when Employment First was put first into legislation, this actually amends the act to clarify that those collaborative efforts between agencies. So what they're doing, and we watched a presentation recently from the REACH department and the group there, they are very interested in these larger agencies at the state level sharing data. So it requires accountability measures, specifically in CIE, lowering sub-minimum wage employment, the number of individuals working in that, and then also decreasing the numbers working in non-integrated employment settings. So the REACH office will be tracking all of those things, and they're also in charge of producing an annual report. So you saw that I mentioned the 2020 Employment First report. That was really on the shoulders of all the agencies. Now it sounds like the REACH office is going to kind of take that over and require all of the state agencies to share their data specifically on those 3 measures. Something else I wanted to bring to your attention, if you're not familiar, back in 2016, the Advisory Committee on Increasing CIE for Individuals with Disabilities submitted a final report to Congress. So the committee recommended to increase the capacity of employment service providers to provide CIE through both their organizational restructuring and staff professional development. So they said to address this need, the U.S. Department of Labor and the Office of Disability Employment Policy, which is often referred to as ODEP, they came together to establish the National Expansion of Employment Opportunities Network, which we call NEON. So this initiative was in 2019. So this project, NEON, it assists national provider organizations that you can see listed on the left there, the NPOs, and their affiliated local provider organization, or the LPOs, and the state intermediary organizations, or the SIOs, that are listed on the right, and the government agencies, in all advancing CIE. So this is really the support project to further agencies into moving away from non-CIE employment. Advancing CIE, NEON collaborates with these groups to increase CIE for the people they serve. So really, we're looking at provider transformation. It realigns these provider agency business models, which we know have been around for a long time, providing work opportunities in segregated settings and moving them away from the sub-minimum segregated settings into providing CIE for people with disabilities. So how is this done? Project NEON, it currently provides technical assistance to 5 specific NPOs that you see on the slide there, using a pool of national subject matter experts. They serve as peer mentors in helping those agencies provide transformation and customized employment. They also provide one-on-one technical support to those LPOs that are members of each of the national organization. And they offer participating organizations opportunity to network with one another and learn about effective strategies through peer-to-peer mentoring. So one project I just wanted to let you guys know about is this year, from February to August, 48 different individuals came together through some of these organizations and others. And they, the NEON project put together 11 work group sessions focusing on the discussion of moving from day hab to employment. So during these meetings, we talked about innovations on both state and local levels, what was happening when people were trying, or agencies were trying to move people from day hab to competitive employment, and the barriers, and then also the strategies. So we, APSE did support this work group under the Project NEON, and it was funded by ODEP. There is going to be a summary document available. It's currently in draft, but it'll be available, and we can share that through our networks and with you all once it is approved by ODEP. So it's some really good stuff, and it's a great way to see what other states and other agencies are doing. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what APSE does and some of the things that you all can become involved with. So our national organization offers committees, 3 specific committees surrounded around public policy, where we talk about what's happening across states and at the national level. And you can see that national has a big public policy footprint, especially moving folks into CIE and the employment first model. Professional development. So we talk about how to increase professional development within our industry, especially those providing employment services. And chapter development. So we talk about how states can support each other and enhance our mission. Another thing that the National APSE organization offers is communities of practice. So you can see there we listed some of the meetings coming up in October. So there's one community of practice, for example, that focuses on pre-ETs or those pre-employment skills. If you offer that as part of your agency, then that's a great way to meet other agencies that are offering similar services and share things around maybe career camps or your after-school services to those that are still in high school. The other ones that we have the Day Hab to Employment Community of Practice. We have a Technology and Employment First Community of Practice. So we talk about utilizing technology as a tool for employment. And then we also have that State Policy Coffee Talk Community of Practice where we talk about different advocacy efforts. Also on APSE's website, you'll see a list of their webinars on the calendar. So we have actually one coming up on October 23rd if you're interested in participating. Our presenter is fellow board member Jorge De Moya. He's from the De Moya Foundation down in Miami. He's their marketing and communications director, and he's going to talk about how you can foster employer relationships to create sustainable employment and extended funding. And he has some really great out of the box ways of creating those partnerships with employers in your community. Those are free. Those webinars are free for APSE members. They're $30 for non-members. So you could take a look at the APSE website and check them out. We also partner, Florida APSE partners with the Florida Center for Inclusive Communities. So FCIC, they offer employment webinars as well. So you can go on to their website. All of their webinars are free. You could also reach out to Denise Barnes, and she oversees those webinars as a part of what USF offers. And we have one coming up. Florida APSE is partnering with FCIC. Matti, you want to tell everybody about that one?
Absolutely. So I work with Devin O'Connor as well. He's the executive director of the Grow Group and is the vice president of the Florida chapter for APSE. He's going to be doing a presentation on OJT or on the job training and paid work experiences. So those transition youth and the getting those skills before they're really going to be out there working in those competitive integrated opportunities.
Awesome. So you can go ahead and you can scan and register for that one. We'll make sure that you have this presentation so that you could click on the link or have the QR code and share. Another thing I'd love to mention that some people don't know about is that APSE has a research to practice focus. So they work with the Journal of Vocational Rehabilitation, and APSE members actually get access to the monthly journal for free. So you can look through the different articles. You can use it for professional development within your agencies. It's a really great way to keep everybody abreast of the latest research across the nation related to vocational rehabilitation and employment. And then they also pick an article from each month, and they have a research to practice webinar series. So they'll have the folks that publish the article come on and explain a little bit more about their research and how it applies to the work that we're doing. I also wanted to let you know, if you're not familiar, there is something called CESP, which is the Certified Employment Support Professional. This is a credential that is offered to employment support professionals. It's nationally recognized, and it's operated by APSE. So what it is, it's an exam, and you can study and take the exam. Individuals do pay for this exam themselves. In Florida, we don't have method of covering this. Unfortunately, we don't have many incentives for folks to take this exam. In other states, such as Ohio, they actually require the CESP credential in order to provide specific services funded by VR. So all employment service professionals that offer that service have to take the CESP. And then in other states, there are grants or incentives that offer increased rates or opportunities for individuals to take the CESP credential. So that's unfortunate in Florida. Maybe that might change, but it is a great opportunity for professional development amongst your staff if you're interested in looking into it. So let's talk a little bit about what the APSE membership looks like. So there's different tiers of membership. There's individual membership, and then there's business memberships. If you're looking to register just as an individual, you can register as a professional member for $180 for the year. If you're still enrolled in post-secondary, we have a student membership. And then also for those that are not professionals, we have a non-professional self-advocate, family member, friends, businesses who want to support APSE. There is a patron level membership there as well. And then the business membership are for agencies that would like to take advantage of groups of staff within your agency. So there's gold, silver, and bronze levels. And you can see with each level of membership, it has a different number of the professional memberships included. It also offers, the gold, for example, offers free conference registration for our national conference. And there's other perks involved in that, benefits involved for those memberships. So you could take a look at APSE.org is the website, and you'll click on membership, and then there's the different benefits and goes through each of those. And again, if you're an APSE member for the national organization, you would select that you live in Florida and you would be affiliated with the chapter of Florida. But all chapter members have access to everything that's offered at the national level. Also, a really great opportunity is the national conference offered each year. And this year, it's really exciting. I should say next year, because we're still in 2024. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Next year, June 10th, 2025, we're going to be hosting it in DC, which is really exciting because we're going to offer an advocacy day on the Hill and an employment first gala the Tuesday of the conference. So that's a really special way to engage with our national legislators and let them know what we're doing as a region and as a state. And then the regular conference kicks off June 11th and it ends Friday, June 13th. It'll be located at Grand Hyatt. So save the date and you can look at APSE's website for upcoming information about that national conference in June. Right now, what you should be doing is you should be looking into attending our statewide conference. So we're going to host that actually next week. So if you're interested, please scan the QR code there and find out more information about our summit. It's going to be in downtown Orlando. We're right there at the Embassy Suites by Hilton on the lake. And we have some really exciting speakers coming up, great ways to engage with folks all around the state. And our theme this year is empowering inclusive employment for all. And we hope to see everybody through collaboration. Just to give you a snapshot of what is happening next week, it's the 9th, 10th, and 11th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, we are going to start around noon. We'll do our opening, some breakouts. We have our exhibitor hall. We have a social event that evening. Thursday is an all-day affair. We'll have another social event. And then Friday, we're actually going to just do a half day again, and that'll end at 1 o'clock. We have some speakers, VR, USF, UCF, University of Miami, and FAST. All right, Brett, do you want to talk a little bit more? Actually, let me go back one, a little bit more about the Collaboration Summit. And then I'll turn it over to our APSE networking events.
Yeah, absolutely. I always just think the summit is a great opportunity for like-minded individuals, whether it's government agencies, providers in the field, to get together and network. That we have a lot of these webinars, and we have a diverse presentation base. So there is some boots on the ground. There's, can help job coaches, help directors of companies, that we really try to get a variety of different speakers to try to engage everybody who's in the audience. But I always think, as somebody who, I'm coming from the government end, is that, getting people in the same room together and speaking and collaborating, that's really where a lot of the work's done. That it's in those socials, it's in those 15-minute breaks, to where we get to talk to one another, collaborate, and kind of come up with solutions. So it's really looking forward to it. We have a lot, as I said, a lot of great speakers, a lot of great attendees already coming. We can always use more, and hopefully we will see some of you guys there, and just love brainstorming ideas and getting in the room with people who all kind of think the same of employment first, and helping get everything going. So.
Yeah, we also have some great networking events around the state, and Brett, you've been to many of them. Do you want to describe kind of what we've been doing there?
Yeah, and I always think the great part of the networking events is I think as a board, we really come to try to keep it casual and social, because they are social events that we tend to do them around, whether it's maybe a brewery or a restaurant, and we try to come up with games and try to break the ice, and try to get together regionally. We do them all across the state to get to know one of us as board members. I think it's really important that we get out there and meet who are also the APSE members, and come up with ideas. And the more we get together in person, I think the more that gets accomplished. Webinars are great, meetings are great, but getting out and actually meeting people and getting to know them on a personal basis, and a little more about them has just been fantastic. So we try to do them in different areas across the state, and you don't have to be an APSE member to attend the event. So we do encourage those. If you're thinking about joining APSE, it is a great way to have a little bit more of an intimate setting, to be able to meet and learn to talk to other people in the industry, other coaches, or just to get to know board members better. That I know sometimes at conferences or webinars that with a lot of people, it's easy to kind of fade into the background, but these are very intimate. They're meant to be conversational and to really get to know this, smaller group of people much better. So I think they're fantastic. So.
Thanks, Brett. Awesome.
Yeah.
To Brett's point, there are so many times where you feel like you're somewhat in a silo, and you're working on certain issues, whether it be, having to work on reporting for funders, or staffing issues, or those kinds of things, that we really want to create a space to where agencies are working together, and professionals are working together to solve these issues and to share and to collaborate. So one of the issues that we all experienced last year, and we're still somewhat experiencing, was some of the trouble when Voc Rehab adopted the new AWARE system. So when that was first rolled out, there were lots of complications, and agencies were struggling. So Florida APSE stepped up to create these provider support meetings. If you haven't heard of them, it's worth your time to jump in. These typically are focused around VR services. We are hoping to expand support meetings to also include different topics, maybe APD funded services and those kinds of things as well. But in the immediate need, the last year, we've really wanted to bring together providers to try and come up with solutions, or ask questions and share information related to implementing services within that new AWARE system. So we're hosting these on Zoom the third Thursday of the month from noon to 1. You all are welcome to listen in. You can scan the QR code there to register for the Zoom meeting, and it's the same link each month. We really try to share information. We raise questions, seek clarification. We try to provide follow-up when needed. And we have a really great group that's, patient. We collaborate, we stay professional. There's mutual respect. There's lots of frustrations, but we try to find answers and work together for immediate solutions around these system challenges. So it's a great group, and I encourage you to attend if you haven't already. Another way that we're trying to connect people, we have a new Florida APSE newsletter. So this is going out via email. If you haven't received this yet, we'd love for you to be on our mailing list. So we announce anything upcoming. So of course, we're announcing our collaboration summit coming up next week. We put together resources so you can see really great resources like ODEP and EARN, information about those Florida Rehabilitation Council meetings. If you don't attend and you are providing VR services, you absolutely should, so that you have a seat at the table at the state level to either voice your concerns or listen to what's happening at the state leadership level. FDDC has some great publications and great resources, so we always offer those resources. We also offer a rotating spotlight section. So it could be a program spotlight, something that you guys are offering new and innovative. It could be a spotlight on an individual that has recently become employed. We love to spotlight different services like customized employment, discovery, self-employment. We really want to highlight the great work that everybody's doing in our state. So we encourage you to send us your stories, and we can put you all in our next newsletter. So if you have an idea as to what to share, it's just as simple as writing it up like you see there and sending us some pictures. We also pull together all the events and trainings that are happening. I think that this is an area to where we kind of get lost in the minutia. There's so many things that are shared in so many different places. We're trying to be the one-stop shop to pull together everything employment related across the state. So if you guys have any events and trainings that could benefit your fellow agency or professionals within employment, we welcome you to share those as well. Lastly, we invite you to get involved. So we would love for you to become APSE members, either yourself as a professional or your organization. We could talk more to you about that and kind of look at what's best for your situation. Please sign up for our statewide conference. We'd love to see you next week in Orlando if you're able to attend. Save the date for that national one in DC. That's going to be a really great conference. If you aren't interested in, maybe if you want to learn about becoming a board member, but you're not sure what that is about, we offer your participation in committees and things that we're doing as a board. You saw the webinars and the education series. Check out APSE.org, and they have a calendar. Just peruse through all the different things that they offer and see if the membership in those webinars alone and the networking events and all of those things provide value enough to you and your organization to become members. Come on along for a networking event. You saw on that slide, our next one is actually after the conference in November. We're going to be doing Jacksonville. So if you're in the Jacksonville area, we'd love for you to come by. Come sign up for those provider support meetings once a month on the third Thursday, especially if you provide VR services, and we'll look at expanding those. Submit information for those newsletters, sign up to receive newsletters. And then lastly, what can we do to support? So we like to think of ourselves as kind of the conduit between agency leaders or agency professionals and the services and the funders at the state level. We think that there's a space for us to kind of improve collaboration, improve networking, improve that communication. And that's what we're trying to do through all of these different activities. So we really encourage you to reach out to us and become active in what we're doing. Make sure that these things are fitting your needs. Maybe there's a webinar topic that you'd like for us to cover. Our board, we have, what are we up to, 14 members now, and we all have different areas of expertise. So we're happy to make sure to address those topics. So I'll leave it at that, and we could maybe take on some questions. Unless Matti and Brett, if you want to add some last minute thoughts.
I think you covered it all on my end.
I might just jump in and share my why for APSE. So I've been, and Kerri may laugh here, but I've been a APSE groupie for a few years now, and I just officially have joined the board this year. And the reason I was so drawn, first, I am a person with a disability and I work with people with disabilities. And so to be able to be a self-advocate and teach others that there are organizations like this and associations that are really fighting for us to be able to have equal rights. And so it's a very personal and professional why for me. And I also wanted to share, like, when the light bulb went off for me with APSE was hearing competitive integrated being explained as both the wages, competitive wages and opportunities, and integrated, the setting and the environment. And when I heard that, I said, absolutely, that makes complete sense to me. And so that is really why I am here.
Great. Well, thanks so much. Let's open it up if anyone has any questions. I know there were some questions in the chat, but does anyone have anything they'd like to ask the board members? Go ahead and unmute yourself. And I'm not seeing anything.
I think, Dina, I did see Kaya, if I pronounce your name incorrectly, I'm
Yes.
sorry. You're a self-advocate in Hillsborough County. So there are some fees for some things, and some things are free. So Denise, thank you, Denise. If you're an APSE member, the webinars are absolutely free. There's a charge if you're a non-member, but you can still participate. Denise mentioned that the FCIC webinars, those ones through USF, are always free. So make sure that you take a look at the FCIC webinar page. And she also mentioned that the CESP's fees are the same for everyone. Also, Kaya, if you are a self-advocate, there is a different rate for you for membership. So we could talk to you more about that to see if that's something that you'd like to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking those questions. Matti also put a link, if that's easier, for the Collaboration Summit in the chat. We're using
Okay.
HUVA this year, so that's our registration link if you're interested in taking a look at that. And yes, Melissa, Dina is going to send you the slides, so we'll make sure that you have all of those, all of that information. And Denise did put a link for the FCIC webinar page in there, so you could just click on that link in the chat as well.
And I'll
So many
include
resources.
those in the email as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that link is to the next webinar that's featuring APSE and FCIC. I won't put our page in there right now because the page is down. We got hacked. So our website is completely down, but that's the registration page that's hosted by Microsoft. So it won't be hacked. Thank you.
Thanks so
Right.
much, Denise.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I don't see any other chats or hands raised. Does anybody have anything else before we adjourn?
I do actually.
Go ahead, Kaya.
I'm wondering if it's possible. I know the rest of the state has ARC groups in Florida, but Hillsborough has never had one. So how would that be able to happen? I mean, I just got a new support coordinator myself, so but I got that fixed, and that was a hard task. So unfortunately, nothing for APD is ever easy. So I'm wondering how to get something like that in Hillsborough going. I know there's one across the bay in Pinellas, but there's never been one in my county. So I'm wondering if you guys up in Tallahassee could, shed some light.
That's something that we can certainly look into, Kaya.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You guys did a great job in Orlando. I'll be back next year.
Thanks. All right. Well, Kerri, any last words from you and your group?
I think that's it. If you have any questions, our email, I could put our email in the chat.
And I'll
It's,
include that with the presentation and all the links.
Yep. Yeah, and we just appreciate the collaboration with the ARC of Florida. Alan Abramowitz has been very active in a lot of our conversations, and we need to all come together to understand what the issues are and become one voice, so that leadership really understands what we'd like them to do. I think that's one thing in Florida that we need to do a better job of. There's lots of things that can be improved, but if we all come together and help them prioritize and help them with suggestions for solutions, I think that that's really what we need to do. So thank you all for your time, and we look forward to meeting you in person.
Right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care, everybody.